Hey guys, so remember how I was saying that I was gonna read that little story called Cleo the Killer? Well, you see, I was doing some research and turns out that Huda Hoodlum and someone called Baptism on Fire have already done it. By the way, go watch it. So I didn't know that, but I will be watching that video later, but I had to find another story to read. Oof a doof. This one was one I was thinking about reading before I found the Rebecca one, but I was like, it didn't really look that interesting. I didn't really read. I just kind of looked for the beginning and the ending. All I remember hearing about it was some people calling it like a Jeff the Killer knockoff. But I mean, hey, I don't can't read Clay. I'm not gonna do Cleo anymore since I mean someone else has already really done it. Someone more popular and shit. I don't want to be a knockoff, so. Eh. Anyways, here's Liars. Liars. There was once a guy living in our neighborhood named Jimmy, not related to Jimmy Neutron. He got picked on a lot for being a confident and funny guy. His mouth tended to get him into a lot of trouble, and he seldom learned his lesson. He was just very content with who he was and refused to change it. When people asked him why he let them wail on him for his blunt comedy and wisecracks, he'd smirk and say, "Honesty is the best policy. At least they're not hiding anything from me, and neither am I from them." Sounds like to me Jimmy's one of those people who wear those type of shirts that say, "If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best." One of the kids he inadvertently pissed off with a rather crude MILF joke was something of a psychopath with a sadistic streak who didn't take kindly to the insult. So he rounded up the other guys who didn't like Jimmy, and they cornered him after school in the science room. Where the teachers at? I mean, I don't know how the students were getting in there, but I mean, okay. "Your mouth got you into this. I want you to remember that," Brett, the ringleader, told him as he looked into Jimmy's terrified eyes. "Guess you should have kept your mouth shut, Jimmy." They grabbed some formic acid stored in the lab because, you know, who the fuck locks that shit up? Let's let the kids get the chemicals while we're at it, blow up the whole fucking school. Yeah, that's gonna end well. They grabbed some formic acid stored in the lab and threw it in his face. They stood around, watched him scream in agony as they ate through his flesh before sniggering and running out, pretending to be concerned and wanting help for him. Okay, so why is there just this acid that can just dissolve your face in the school's lab? I'm assuming they're high schoolers or middle schoolers. In the school's forensic, the school's lab, they just have this type of acid that's just like, oh yeah, you know, we just got this open. Anyone can easily grab it and just attack another student with it. I mean, this will end perfectly well. Okay. Um. When the paramedics arrived and were attending to Jimmy, who was no longer able to scream, did it mess up his vocal cords? The principal asked the boys if they knew what had happened. Their leader, Brett, explained they were walking past when they saw Jimmy skulking around the lab room. By the time they got in there, he was already in that state. The other members joined in and backed Brett up with other fake details as Jimmy tried to protest in silent agony. The principal nodded and told them he would speak to them after he had a word with Jimmy and got his side of the story after he was out of hospital. A few days passed and Jimmy was kept in ICU with. Wait, whoa. I just saw something. Why are there no cameras? I mean, did this take place in like the 80s or the 90s or whatever? I mean, they would see on camera the boys forcing him to go into the room, running out the room, and pretending to be, "Oh, we were so concerned." So, how the hell, why aren't they checking the cameras? And I thought Jimmy can't talk anymore, so how the fuck is he going to be talking after this? I mean, okay, that doesn't make sense. And while we're also on the subject, how does this narrator know this? I'm just thinking that. Was the narrator part of the group or something like that? How does he know all this shit? Okay. When a few days passed and Jimmy was kept in ICU with bandages on his face, the doctors salvaging what little they could of his face, his vision still intact in one eye, and his jaw was standing despite the loss of flesh. He was still unable to speak and refused to respond to anyone. He just sat there, eyes unblinking and staring at the ceiling, bloodshot and filled with animosity. When he was discharged sometime later, he would not respond to anyone with anything other than a word, "Liars!" His social life gone, unable to smile or even crack a joke anymore. Liars, what? The hell? Why liars? What? Okay then. I don't know what they were lying about. I mean, they just assaulted him with acid. That was about it. What were they lying about? Okay. Um, Unable to smile or even crack a joke anymore, he secluded himself in his room and began planning. Sick, vindictive thoughts started appearing in his mind. He would get them all, one by one, decimate them, slice them, burn them. He waited patiently until the group would be vulnerable. Late at night, when they said their goodbyes and went home separately, that's when he would strike. That weekend, Brett received a package in the mail. Curiously, he opened it to find a VHS tape with the words, "For you," because I guess this is the 90s now. We're just going to use VHS tapes. Fuck DVDs or USBs. With the words "For you" etched crudely onto the front. He put it in and played it. It was a crudely recorded home video by an unknown cameraman who didn't speak at all for the duration of the film. It began with the camera pointing at the date on a newspaper. It was yesterday. As he zoomed out, you could see it was in the basement, a single flickering light bulb hanging above and casting an uncomfortable scene. By the time he completely zoomed out, it was apparent this was no normal video. In front of the cameraman and on his hands knees was one of Brett's friends. He was naked, a dirty blindfold around his face, and a crude gag in his mouth. He was covered in blood, horrific burns, lacerations, and wounds. One particularly large one on his back stood out that almost looked like a word. The cameraman, with gloved hands, took the gag out of the crying boy's mouth and immediately he begged to go home. Please let me go, man. I did what you wanted. Oh God, Jesse, Mike, Keith, from Voltron, you made me fucking butcher them. I just want to go home, man. Please, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. He just kept repeating it over and over, rocking back and forth as he did so. Brett's legs began to shake and he felt the bile rise in his stomach. He could see the burnt, mangled bodies in the background. The bodies of his friends. All of them had markings on their body and deep, large cuts. The cameraman reached out for the boy's chin and lifted it up, encouraging him to stand. He did so obediently as he was slowly led to a door off screen, whimpering. Brett could see what had been cut into his friend's back now. It was the word liar. The camera cut out temporarily. Okay, wait. So, I don't get it. Why is he calling them liars? That doesn't make any sense. It's not like, it'd be one thing if like he was friends with them and they betrayed him and that's why he's calling them liars or something, but okay, I don't get it at all. Why is he just saying, "Oh, you're a liar"? They never lied to him. They just attacked him because he said a rude joke and they went over the top, and instead of just leaving him the fuck alone, sending him the fuck off or something, they attacked him with acid. So why is he calling him liars? I don't get that. And then the narrator doesn't make sense. The narrator said that Jimmy was someone who lived in their neighborhood. So how the fuck does he know what happened to Brett? What was the point of that first paragraph? If it was like Brett was a narrator, that'd be one thing, but this unknown narrator is someone who knew Jimmy because he lived in their neighborhood. So how the fuck does he know all this shit that's happening? Okay, back to the story. When they were started again, they were no longer inside. They were instead out in the cold snow on the outskirts of the woods, and it didn't appear to be the original man holding the camera anymore. It was Brett's friend. He was whimpering and shivering as he held the camera in one place for 30 seconds, pointing at some trees in the distance, hearing footsteps draw ever nearer. "Where are you, man? You said I could go, man! You said I could go!" The boy was screaming and crying, frightening out of his mind as the sound of crunching snow drew nearer from seemingly every angle. It stopped. He turned around to see the mangled face of Jimmy. A horrifying howl blared through the speakers, and the word "liars" appeared before the tape abruptly stopped. Brett felt faint, and darted to lock the front door, knowing what was coming. As he turned to run for it, he immediately hit something and fell backwards. What did he hit? What? The last thing he ever heard was "liars" as acid ran down his face and began to slowly eat away at his flesh. The last thing he ever saw was Jimmy's face contorting into a sick, twisted smile. That's it. I don't really know what to say for this one. It was just really unoriginal. Yeah, I kind of agree. It was kind of just a Jeff knockoff. It's got a kid that gets attacked by some bullies. He gets revenge on the bullies. Yada yada yada. There's some image with it. It's blurry. It looks like a chipmunk, unhappy. But yeah, that wasn't a good story. That was absolute shit. I'm sorry. It was. I mean, not absolute shit. It wasn't like Eyeless Jack bad, but a lot of it doesn't make sense. The narrator doesn't make sense. Why the hell is the narrator knowing all this shit? He literally says there once was a guy living in our neighborhood named Jimmy, so he wouldn't know this shit that happened. Um, why they're just acid just easily sitting open in the school lab that can be used by the students to burn people's faces off? Why is there no teachers? Why doesn't no one use any cameras or anything? I mean, a lot of this shit just doesn't make any sense. That was not a good story. Uh, I see why I was moved to this role pasta wiki. Um, yeah, that's about it. That's really all I was going to read. See you next time, I guess, when I do the Hogwarts or maybe the SpongeBob Schizophrenia one. Au revoir.